very special welcome to the Honorable Dr. Darroux, the Parliamentary Representative for the Petite Savanne constituency, the Honorable Justina Charles, Parliamentary Representative for the Granby constituency. Now, if you may have noticed, I introduced them as parliamentary representatives. Of course, they're both ministers in their respective ministries. But today we're going to be focusing on the both constituencies, the southernmost constituencies of Granby and Petite Savanne. And it is not under the best circumstances. However, it's an opportunity to allow them to speak to some of the situations that they encounter upon the passage of Tropical Storm Erika. Let me say thank you for joining me on this special discussion, both Dr. Darroux and Mrs. Charles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mervin, and I must say thank you for having us. I know over the past time we've been wounded by various press, both local, regional, and even further afield, but so much work to do, really. Still lots of work to do on the ground, to communities to relocate, and all of this. But I just felt that as a government minister, parliamentary representative, that I would give the Government Information Service this privilege to share some of their experiences, and also as to the way forward for these two constituencies. Yes.
27th of August, a day that will be etched in the memory of both of you and lives and memories of the people of the South, particularly Petite Savanne, Bagadal, Font Saint-Jean, Belleville, Diobi, Pichenet, Granby. And I said Belleville, Granby, Pichenet because they too were impacted indirectly, one may say, because they had to do so much to assist and support the people of the more affected areas. I remember speaking to you, Dr. Darroux, on the morning, and I remember you in what I can consider to be much anguish. And if I'm to quote Dr. Darroux, Mrs. Charles, one statement that resounded right across our conversation on the phone was, my people, Mervin, I don't know how I'm going to get to my people, but I have to get to my people. My people, my people, my people. And I remember saying to him, my brother, just hang in there, you're going to get there. So from that point, both of you got there.
Yes.
Tell the viewing public about the synergy that was put together prior to arriving there and getting there. Let's just deal with that part of it.
Okay, if I may start off, I don't know if ladies first. As you rightly said, August 27th is a day that will forever be etched in the memories, not just of myself, but the entire country, and more so the Petite Savanne constituency and the Petite Savanne community proper, that is. And of course, like I think most Dominicans, I'm sure in this chance we woke up Thursday morning, we had heavy overnight rains, nothing new to Dominica, but I mean, nothing prepared us for really what was ahead, and I don't think nothing not in our wildest imagination would we have known that they would turn out to be as it did. We would have from where I live in Granby, I've been living there since I was a district medical officer, and continue living there. Of course, I found love in Granby. And then we would be living in Granby, and from my vantage point, we could see the Geneva River, the playing field. So of course we saw it overflowing and flooded, so just out of curiosity, just took us a little drive down to the Geneva playing field. On arriving there, I met a few of my constituents living out of Petite Savanne, and I think they then informed me that, if I hadn't heard what was happening in Petite Savanne, because by then cellular service would have been cut off. And when I went back home, I would have seen a few missed calls from people in Petite Savanne at the time. Of course, they would have probably gone to little areas that they could probably get, little service, etc., trying to call me to at least give me a synopsis of what was happening. At that time, I was informed that probably about 20 and 30 people were presumed missing. Of course, they couldn't venture far because of the whole situation in Petite Savanne, the landslide cut off certain areas, some other areas. I think I met Ms. Charles at the scene, or I called her, or went to her home. I can't remember how it happened. I think we met. I think I called you. Yeah, I went back home, I called her, and I told her the situation. And very quickly, of course, we being health professionals, and the health always so intricately involved in disaster relief. We decided to call a quick emergency meeting of the emergency team in Granby, the Charles. We called the police, the health personnel, and also the fire officers, the village council, and what is there of the disaster committee in Granby. We met at the Granby police station, and very quickly we mobilized. because we felt that it was a disaster. We felt, although we hadn't gotten any details, just few little, few little random calls here and there, we realized that we had a serious situation on our hands, especially in Petite Savanne. And we put together, we called a quick meeting, put our plan in place. Some of us were dispatched to the health center, get our emergency medicines, everything ready. Of course, by then I would have gotten in touch with my colleague, Minister of National Security, who happened to be acting Prime Minister at the time, the Prime Minister being out of state, and told him briefly what was going on and how that, especially I as a resident of Petite Savanne, medical doctor and PAL rep, needed to get up to Petite Savanne one way or another. By then, as I said, we had everything ready. We had already divided ourselves into groups of 3 or 4, whatever it is that we feel that the helicopter could accommodate at the time, because we were told that as soon as it's possible that we would get a helicopter, because we figured out that that would have been the only way to get to Petite Savanne at the time. Of course, my contacts in Petite Savanne would also have informed me of a number of people injured, some seriously, based on what the information they gave. So we felt that we really had to get out there to see how we could get these people out for medical attention. So we, as I said, we put our team in place, our plan in place, and we decided, well, me as a resident doctor and PAL rep, in that order, had to go on the first. In fact, when I was packed up and ready to go, and the charge going to be confirmed that by probably 11, 12 o'clock first day, I was all geared, ready to go. In fact, I spent my whole afternoon at the health center close to it, because we realized that the landing site for the helicopter would be at the police station in the vicinity. So remember the health center, police station, everything, in one general area. So I was all geared ready to go, ready to go, my backpack, and decide, well, I'm heading to Petite Savanne. I'm not sure what is it that I could do there at the time. I know, sorry, as a medical doctor, yes, that, okay, but I just had to be there. I think that's probably when maybe we spoke. And then, unfortunately, there was some technical issues, and the helicopter didn't come until a bit later. Yeah, sometime maybe at 8 o'clock in the night. But maybe I was still determined to go. And
sure.
The Charles will tell you that we were already on the helicopter at night time, getting ready to go.
Yes. Okay, so let me just allow Mrs. Charles to come in here. So Dr. Darroux called you, and he informed you of what was perceived to be a very critical situation existing. What was your first reaction or your first response, and then what next step?
If I am to begin moving from even as soon as I woke up in the morning, because I mean with the torrential rain, overnight torrential rain, I thought as PAL rep, knowing that my biggest concern was Micham, that is an area that is usually overflowing and vehicles cannot pass. So access would be cut off very early. So I quickly got up and I said, as PAL rep, I ran through the constituency, I went through Mabouche, I went through the various areas, and only to find that, as I said, there was already overflowing, so vehicles couldn't move. And I called Tetmon. There was a slide, and Tetmon transport was already cut off in Tetmon area. I went by the primary school. I drove through the constituency, and I found that there was minimal damage or nothing at all. By the second time, in probably half an hour after I spinned around, then I had the wall at the Matutus Park had capsized, and had fallen down with rocks and everything. And then there were more slides in Highland, and the water was even flowing heavy at Geneva, at Micham. So I just thought, but that was basically the amount of damage for me in Granby. But by then we had gotten word, Dr. Darroux had called to say that the situation in Petite Savanne was grave, and I thought, well, my energy had to be diverted to that area to assist as much as I possibly could. So as he rightly said, the team, we activated the Granby disaster plan with the health team, police, fire, village council. We all met immediately, and then we activated the plan, and we thought, we have to think of how we're going to assist the people in Petite Savanne who were injured. By then we moved to the health center, where by then the PAL rep and the minister cap was down. I now put on the cap as a nurse, and so I was given, in fact I left my home with my blood pressure apparatus, my glucometer, some of the things that I think I would need in my bag. So by the time we reached health center, they had given me my package as a nurse, and so everybody had their package as to how, because we decided we were going to dispatch teams in various areas in Petite Savanne. So I was to go one area, Dr. Darroux move on to another area. So we moved up, and we were ready, as Dr. Darroux said, by late morning we were ready, because by then we had gotten word that they were going to send a helicopter to airlift us to Petite Savanne. And we spent basically most of that the lower part, latter part of the day, waiting to be moved to Petite Savanne.
Okay, so we know the little ramifications, and then you got to Petite Savanne. Now, just before you talk about arriving in Petite Savanne, in both of your mindsets, you really go in there expecting to meet some sign of people in distress, but nothing to the magnitude of what you saw.
No, nothing.
Right?
Nothing
you didn't anticipate the magnitude of what you saw. So the helicopter lands there.
Yes.
Let's deal with that.
Even just before as I said, I mean, we had to be there, and I think even during the afternoon, I made various attempts to even walk it. In fact, a couple of police officers, but I mean, I was told that they're going to call my home and family to let them know what I was trying to do. Because remember, the landslide, there was no way of knowing how many landslides, etc. So I was discouraged in doing this. And even in the night, as I said, I was prepared to have them drop me somewhere. I just needed to be there with my family and friends, my people. So we landed, we had some little, it did come, didn't leave, had some little issues. Then we moved out first thing, Friday at dawn. First flight, we moved out. I was on the first flight, myself, a nurse, not the Charles, another nurse, and a fire officer. Nurse came on the second, because we had already organized ourselves into teams. Thankfully, the playing field that was under construction in Petite Savanne, down at the Bayside, was that's probably what saved us in terms of allowing the helicopter to be able to land. By then, I would have still been making little phone calls with some people in Petite Savanne. So they told me that I was informed that they think that the playing field is still, because it didn't give way. Lots of debris on it, but it was okay, and they felt that it would have been suitable. So I landed first. Eventually, nurse met me somewhere in the village, but even before landing, because of the wind and the location of the playing field, we had some little difficulty landing. So we had to circle Petite Savanne a couple times, and I think this is where this is when the enormity or the magnitude of what happened.
You began to get an appreciation for really what happened.
Not appreciation. It's
appreciation.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, just teasing it. Yes, and you could really see the damage that had happened, and of course we eventually landed. By then we would have had a few SSU guys, special branch guys on the ground. They would have walked it from Stowe the night before they arrived at midnight. So basically we're the second set of people outside of a handful of police officers from the SSU.
So the guys from the SSU probably would have gotten information from some police officers from Petite Savanne who were there.
Well, yes.
So they would have made their way.
They made their way. They walked. Yeah. I mean, I understood they probably had to traverse hundreds of slides and all of this, and it was very brave of them. So they were there. I think they arrived somewhere at midnight based on the information. So we were basically the second set, back to Stowe, and they walked from Stowe to Petite Savanne. But we were basically like the second outsiders to arrive here. Of course, when they got there, thankfully, this ridge from all the way up in the village down to the Bayside playing field is still motorable,
That's right.
unaffected. You walked it, okay. But one of my friends, thankfully, he had the only pick-up a vehicle available, our mutual friend in Petite Savanne. So we got a ride up to the village, and we established the Roman Catholic Church as basically a central operating point. Set up a command post there. And then by then, the helicopter would have gone back to pick up Nurse and the team. And then we decided we're going to head to the other side of the community, which is where the damage and also all the injured and also the deaths. So
before we move to that, let me get Mrs. Charles' own version of coming in on the helicopter and getting in there.
Yeah, I mean, coming in on the helicopter and just looking out to see the slides, the amount of slides that we were seeing on our way to Petite Savanne. And when we got to the site where the area that was heavily impacted, I mean, up to now I cannot find words to describe what I saw. It was really shocking, and you could not imagine that amount of devastation from what we would consider to be normal rain.
You almost felt like it was a movie. It wasn't
real.
Yes,
it was not real. And when you get to there, the houses that were there, the distillery, you could not identify exactly where the distillery was. There was no remnant of the structure standing, nothing at all. And you are wondering, I mean, the first impression is, can government really spend on rehabilitating that place? Because the level of destruction that we saw, the first instinct was, people must move out of that area, because it was just extravagant.
And we can interact, we're having a conversation. Let's talk about the emotions. So you got there, and people started seeing you and feeling you.
Yes, sir.
And they know you come in, you have a medical background, so you can well imagine what people's mindset is like. Almost save us, please.
Yes.
Talk about the emotions now. Once you start touching people and feeling people and hearing their versions now, because people start telling you what they saw and what they didn't see.
Well, in fact, when we arrived with Savannah, my friends, my closest friends, you know, close associates were already on the playing field awaiting me, so we immediately set off. And of course, we being there as a doctor, member of the community, and even the PAL rep, you know, to a certain extent, and Ms. Charles, you know, that by itself, I'm pretty sure gave them some level of reassurance that they were not that they were not alone, you know, that we had left the safety of our homes and wherever we were to enter here to see what we could, you know, to whatever level of help we could bring to them. And it really wasn't a pleasant sight moving, really moving. Yes, I mean, this mentioned, I mean, the most affected area, I mean, if you're not familiar with Petite Savanne, there's no way you could begin to imagine, you know, what there was like, you know. I mean, looking back on this, Charles, I mean, I think we were pretty, I think, a little crazy too. I mean, we were the first people to really traverse that particular landslide to get to the other side of Petite Savanne. In other words, there was no one that crossed it before to assure us that.
And I can tell you, viewers, I know it because I saw it first.
Safe,
I mean, I came from the boat, jumped in the sea, and we walked up there and I saw that.
Yes, sir.
And if you guys are telling me you braved that to go across,
we were the first. We were the first. We were the first. As I said, there was no, you know, like no marked path to say, okay, you could, you know, this is.
So you basically created the first walkway.
Yes, sir, we did, and I mean, because our aim at the time, honestly, there was nothing else on my mind, and I'm sure.
Why would you have done that? Is it that you were told that there were people?
Well, yeah, the people who were injured, and the people who were injured because the plan was to get them, identify them, get them ready for airlifting. So we had
before we get to that point, so let's talk about the emotions. What are people saying? Those you had met, what are some of the comments they were making as you talked young, at least those who probably knew that somebody's house was and went down? What were they telling you?
You see, the thing is, the people were just waiting for somebody to come to their rescue. And when you got there, they were overwhelmed, they were excited, they were happy that at least they saw doctor, they saw the nurses, they saw the firemen, they saw the policemen now coming to their rescue.
And then what were they saying? Like, for example, they would say, people were telling you of people they felt who may have gone down.
Yes, of course. By then we had gotten a list. By then the nurse who was residing in the area had given us a list of all the names of the persons
people presumed missing.
that were presumed to be missing. So we had that list of about 20 names. And then when we arrived, only one man, we met one body lying, waiting. You know, and they could not find any other person.
And you guys knew the people they were talking about.
Yeah,
so immediately as you were seeing the names, it started sending that kind of feeling across.
Some of them would, but I mean, the entire, in fact, you know, Petite Savanne is a very close-knit related family. And I mean, the guy who loved the family of 5, the guy is my first cousin. You know, and his wife and 3 children were lost. So these are people that we knew intimately. You know?
Yeah, I was just saying, about 3 weeks before that happened, so I was up there, and the family I was interacting with all of them.
Exactly, the daughter would always be together with Clinton.
And it was just so touching, you know.
Yes, and as I said, the people, I mean, of course, you know, we got here, they would, you know, started telling me about, you know, who they think would have been covered by the slides, who's missing, etc. But our objective at that time, as I said, was to get to the other the part that wasn't accessed, to get across there to see how we could prepare them for medical attention.
And once you started doing that, you started preparing,
the adrenaline was flowing at the time, Mervin, and there was nothing that was going to stop us from getting to the people. As I said, we crushed this fresh landslide. I mean,
that itself was a
risk. I mean, as I said, in retrospect, you know, I mean, you know, any of us family who could foresee what we're going to do would tell us, please stay where you are. I mean, that time that son is almost halfway through in mud. Police officers had to return to pull us out, you know, and then go down on all fours to try to minimize, you know, and it was just, I mean, but as I said, at the time, our self-preservation was the least thing on our mind. There were, on our mind, there are people out there who need us. We have to get to them. because we're not sure, as I said, as to the extent of some of the injuries. I mean, yes, we were getting vague reports from people, but remember, they're non-medical people, so we knew that there were a few severe people and severely injured people that we needed.
What are some of the things you guys started seeing, therefore, when you got to these people? What are some of the type of injuries that...
Yes, so as soon as we got across that major slide, then we split ourselves into groups, because we would have gotten reports of where Mr. X, so we split ourselves into 2 groups. I headed one way with one team, Charles headed another way with the other team. Then we started identifying the people. We saw one body at the time. One body had already been pulled out of the slide. It was just lying on the road. I identified it, put a black tag, because our objective item was for living. Okay, the living. And then we split up. Then we started going to the homes, the areas that the people were injured. As I said, get them ready, do what we had to do, splint and medication, put them, whatever the case maybe we had to do to get them ready for airlifting. I don't know if you want to take it from there.
But you see, the thing is, when we got there, by the time we split ourselves, then that's the time you have to know, make your way through to find the people who were injured.
Which was
and it's like we had to go through slides again, climb hills, climb ropes and all of those kinds of things. Go through wood trees and use that as our prop to go through, so that we could get to the homes of those who were injured.
And were some of the homes that you even got to themselves compromised?
Of course.
By the
Of course. In fact, the first guy that I attended to, the one with the chest injuries, he was pulled out from the slide actually. His whole family, I think 6 or 7 members of the family, got washed away. So himself was part of it. And before, I'm not sure how he escaped. Honestly, up to now, I've never really gotten detail, but I know he was pulled out of the slide. We had to get him out of there right away and bring him to a safer home, where eventually, he would have been airlifted. And you're right. I mean, some of the homes, I mean, if you look at the footage from Petite Savanne, you'll see some homes hanging precariously over precipice and stuff. So, but as I said, at that time, there was no thought of we being in danger or anything.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the people from Petite Savanne, even the fellow that I went to, who had a fractured leg and so, but they had already taken him and put him into another house, because he was living with his parents, and the parents perished. They've not found the parents. So he was in they had placed him in somebody's house. So we went there, met him lying, and then we did first aid, splinted the foot and everything, and we had to use a hammock to take him from that point to where the helicopter would have picked him up, and so.
Were the people themselves from Petite Savanne beginning to assist you guys? They were able to. Explain some of the support that were coming, because obviously they would have wanted to have given their best effort. What are some of the support?
I think I need to take this opportunity to really reach out, to especially some of the young, able-bodied men,
People like Clinton.
Yes, Clinton, and even sometimes, and one of the things that I think this tragedy has brought to the forefront is, how a community can be united in times of tragedy. And even sometimes, people that maybe otherwise in the past, people would, write off, so to speak, what drugs or whatever society, they were the ones who are the forefront.
Right.
I mean, underfit bodies moving, and even during the evacuation, helping whole day, 2 days, and it's just amazing helping the elderly. So for a few hours or days, everybody forgot everything else moving, really just social, whatever political differences, and we're just one community who I'm realizing that we're all in this tragedy together, and we're doing what we're going to do.
So by that time, you guys would have spent how many hours doing what you're talking about? We're talking about
Friday.
Traversing this treacherous slide, taking people out, dressing them, getting them ready for evacuation. What time was it?
Well, you see, the thing is, the helicopter was only taking like 3 people at any one time.
Yeah.
So we had to move them from point A to bring to the site because we had to use the top of a concrete structure. That was the area where the helicopter would come down and sling and take the patients up on airlift them. So the thing is, we had to take them from there. That took a little time. By the time we took for example, the fellow with the fracture, we got the people from Petite Savanne to assist in carrying with the hammock and the fire officers. They did that. We got to the site. We had to wait until the ambulance came, the helicopter came, lift them. So it's like they had to go, come back. So it took us probably the greater part of the morning and the whole day. Because in fact, when I left Petite Savanne about maybe 4 o'clock, to walk down from Petite Savanne to Grand Bay, because I honestly did not want to sleep in Petite Savanne. Seeing what I had seen, I mean, I would not have felt sleeping in Petite Savanne.
She abandoned the mission.
So I was waiting for the helicopter so I would get back home because we were airlifted up to Petite Savanne.
Yep.
And when I was told that the helicopter had completed its mission and had moved, I thought, well, no, I had to walk my way back to Granby because so we had to. So I stayed until with 2 patients waiting for the helicopter, realizing the helicopter was not going to come back. I realized those 2 patients were not going to leave that time while Dr. Darroux had gone to pronounce other, people pronounce body dead. So, it took us basically the whole day just waiting and trying to assist those patients.
I got to come to this pronouncement of people being dead, but what were you guys eating then? Had you guys, were you want to dehydrating? I mean,
we had.
You see, the thing is, when you get to that point, it's like food is the final thing you think of. Food and water. Sometimes, yes, you feel thirsty, but honestly, I only felt hungry when I was walking down. I did walk with change of clothes in my bag, my medical supplies, so I had a heavy bag on my back, and I had some little biscuits. But when we stopped for a little while just to assist in one area, man, everybody was hungry, and that went just like that. So it's like I brought it, but I hardly ate anything. So, but to me, that was the least of my concern. Basically, my concern was to see how well we can help the people of Petite Savanne, get them out and move them. So food was the least thing that we were thinking of.
So how did you guys handle seeing people that you knew and you had to pronounce them dead? You had to say, it's the end.
Yes.
How? I mean, can you explain that feeling, though?
Well,
especially somebody may have been your distant or close cousins, close associate friends. I mean, just
the fact that I'm a medical doctor by training, of course, always helps, but it doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the anguish, and of course the circumstances in which they died, And as Ness would have hinted at earlier, after we had made contact with all of the injuries that we knew of course, we would have also assisted in evacuating some elderly people from a particular area because they were living in an area that's basically surrounded by landslides. So the police officers, some of the firemen and the villagers, they actually had to carry them, up and over to take them to a safer, relatively safer place. So then we went back because we remember the first guy that I attended to, we would have taken him to somewhere closer to where the helicopter would be able to airlift them. So it happened that in that particular area where we were the first body, in fact the only body that was exposed when he just got to Petite Savanne, it was lying, and then the villagers were saying that they think that there might be more bodies in the basement. We are close to where he was found because there were a lot of them standing there, and maybe they would have run for rescue when they saw the slide, the river come in, or it could be that the impact of the slide and the water pushed them in. So while sitting there, we basically were catching our breath that time. Catching our breath. I realized that, but if we think their bodies in there, or we suspect, why are we just sitting there, So I took initiative, and there were a lot of the Wasco PVC pipes exposed and the river running by. So I said, why don't we just see if we can connect some of these pipes together, run some water through the basement so then it would get loosened up, because the basement was practically packed with mud, And that's how we found the remaining free bodies in there. That after a while the water started running through it, and guys got a couple of shovels. We started digging away the mud, and then basically they said, Doc, okay, we have one here and another one coming. So basically we were pulling out bodies from the mud and put them on the concrete pavement outside, the river close by bucket line, wash up the mud, identify them. The nurse would have brought death cards along, pronounced them dead. Once we made a positive ID, and of course taking the decision as a registered medical doctor in Dominica to bury them right away. Of course, I wouldn't want to do that even if I'm empowered to, without the blessings of the family. So by then, a huge crowd would have gathered because word would have spread that bodies are being found there. So the people would have braved the slide and ropes, whatever, to get to that particular point. So the next of kin of all of them were present at the time when the bodies were pulled out. So let's have a quick, quiet conversation. Mommy, that is your son. Dr. Darroux, where are you going with him? How are you going to go bury him? Let us bury him. So it was really almost rudimentary, but it was there was nothing else to do at the time.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, nothing else to do at the time. Just clean up the body, as I said, for a bucket line from the river, wash off and fold them up and basically identify somewhere to bury them. In fact, the last two bodies that were retrieved were buried in the same grave, because it was already dark and yes. And of course, the families were very cooperative. And in fact, they were the ones who said, when I get to talk to them, I mean, where are you going to be? You know, let's just do this. The death certificate would have, and that was probably one of the challenges because of the way this site affected Petite Savanne, and one area was almost inaccessible to another. By then, they would have called me then for another body they found all the way down on the bay side, close to the helicopter landing site. So not to live where I was all the way in the village. Run down, walked all the way down back to the to the bayside to also pronounce. But by then the other doctor from Granby was there at the helicopter site.
So day one?
Yes, sir.
Day one?
Yes, sir.
Day two?
Yes, sir.
Day two after?
Yes, sir. Well, yes, day one, I think witnessed all of the anguish, as I said, the crying and the grieving, of course, and the really, how will I put it, of seeing people, you know, just buried in such. Then we slept.
Were you there on day two?
Day two.
No. Well, yeah, this child, I guess after seeing this child witnessed what Petite Savanne looked like from the helicopter, so she decided but I decided as I said, as a resident and medical doctor, you know, that I don't think my work was over yet.
Complete.
Yeah, because first of all, if no communication to the outside world, someone had to be there to at least bring some guidance
and to provide some leadership
to the process, because I mean, of course, the question everybody's mind was, what next?
What
you
next?
know. Right. So by
so that is where your ministerial cap.
Yes, sir, came in. Yes, sir, came in. Yes,
because
came
then
in.
you are now being seen not only as a doctor and as part.
Exactly, the doctor and the doctor part was already achieved.
Right.
Of course, we set up shop downstairs, Clinton. We set up a little clinic here.
Right.
We had, because we would have, as I said, prepared a lot of medical supplies. So we set up a small. By then, people would have known that that there's a small clinic. There's a doctor there, Randest Alexander, who was also with us, would have set up a mini clinic, and so by Friday or Saturday afternoon, we will also taking blood pressure.
But the leadership part now kicks in. People
Yes,
were beginning to look for leadership now.
Yes, sir.
What next?
Well, yes. Then spent Friday night. Of course, as you can imagine, very few people slept. I didn't sleep. I mean, we sitting on basically a very volatile and liquid fluid situation. Right. Maybe if you close your eyes for 5 minutes and it rains, you really don't know what's going to happen. So we basically stayed up whole night, you know, talking and really trying to digest what had really happened. So along comes day two. By then I was really hoping that I would have seen a bigger influx of activity into Petite Savanne in terms of the helicopters. Of course, afterwards we found out that they had developed, two or three had developed some mechanical problem, etc. But we've been cut off from the outside world, as I said. We had no idea what was, what was going on. So of course,
stick opinion.
Yeah.
So those Charles, you had gone back
to Granby, yes.
So you were, I guess, involved in some sort of mobilization. Yes. Having seen, maybe preparing Granby, trying, because Dr. Darroux was cut out, no communication. So what were you doing then? Having come from the day before, knowing, I guess you would have been yourself working that end of it so that those who would be coming would probably have some information.
Well, the thing is, when I left Petite Savanne and I went down to Granby, the next move for me was to go to, because knowing that he could not go to Pichley, he could not go, to reassure, because the people now are looking, as you rightly said, for leadership.
Right.
Where are the leaders in the country to come and tell us what is happening? But I quickly went up to Tetmon to find out how my people were in Tetmon. Realizing that they were relatively okay, I moved to Pichley, where I could give some reassurance.
So you were
and tell
servicing
them,
the other parts of his
so
constituency.
Dr. Darroux is in Petite Savanne. I'm sorry, you all will not be able to see him now, but he is up there, which is most critical.
Right.
So
I really
we
want to thank you for that. I really want to thank you
and
for
try
that.
to speak to the people in Pichley
Yes.
and go through the shelters in Granby Community Center, speak to the people from Dubic, So I was basically doing that kind of work while he was still up there in Petite Savanne.
I think it's also worth mentioning, because first day before we left, we were getting ready for the helicopter, we had taken the decision also to pull out the people from Dubic. As I said, one didn't have to wait for any expert or anything to realize that the people of Dubic, in fact, they themselves started leaving, and then we took a decision to have them housed at the community center, where most of them are still, of course, we're in the process of seeing how we can, slowly, but that is maybe in the future.
So let's go back to where you
were.
When this was doing the other part of the constituency.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
So I want to come back now to
Petite Savanne.
Yeah, so you were there, you had set up that clinic.
Yes, sir.
But then you were also preparing for whatever was going to come.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, as I said, I was really hoping that or expecting that by then, okay, that we would have a regular, you know, incoming helicopters, so I would be able to send out, you know, messages as to what the status was of Petite Savanne. But as I said later down in retrospect, I was told that there had some issues. The other thing that also caused quite a bit of anxiety, maybe that's worth mentioning, is that also during that period, a lot of helicopters were flying overhead, okay, but we also later found out that these were private helicopters that were contracted by the French government to get the people out of Jungle Bay. So what happened during that period, it was really a period of high anxiety for everyone, because people were seeing, remember Jungle Bay is just across the hill, so people seeing every half an hour helicopters coming to and fro, and then nothing's landing in Petite Savanne, and we cut off, no communication. So of course the people anxiety started getting. We're talking about the Saturday. Myself, everybody, you know, coming to me, you know, and I was like, please keep calm, people. And I went down to the landing site Saturday afternoon. I said, well, whatever comes there, I'm going to leave, you know, to at least get out there to make the necessary calls and do what I have to do. When nothing came. By then, as I said, people had already started panicking, and people had already taken, they started to leave by droves in little boats. Some guys would have braved like this Charles did, walk from Petite Savanne down to Stoya. They would have the outboard motors and everything, and they would have come back trying to get their families. And maybe that really wasn't a pleasant sight Saturday. You know, so families, sometimes even newborn babies, you know, trying to leave. That was before the official evacuation was announced. People had already.
Well, I can tell you, even on Sunday, I was on a boat going up, and I saw a lady with a little baby. And the water was not very pleasant.
Exactly.
And we were going to Petite Savanne, and I'm saying, what?
Yes.
A little baby, she's sitting there with this little boat going down, and then I passed Clinton and your other good partner. Deep in this little boat, and the water surrounded, and I'm like, what is going on?
And even while I was in the community, you know, people were passing me carrying an elderly, you know,
I saw
Saturday,
that,
and people are, Dr. Darroux, what is going on? What are you guys doing? And honestly, I had no answers at the time, and I really couldn't answer because I had no answers. Because as I said, cut out of communication. So that time, I think Sunday it was, when my friend left Saturday or Sunday night, and I tell him, whatever he does, he's going to walk down. I need to get in the shot, and please let her know what's going on. Okay, I need somebody to at least kind of get somewhere or another, get to me and let me know, you know, what's the plan. Of course, as I said, communication, no cell phone service, so that by itself was just...
I'll tell you what was it,
Yes.
I came in the very day you left.
Yes, sir.
And do you know I was the first person to make a call out of Petite Savanne, because while we were there, digital service came back.
Temporarily.
Temporary. And I called DBS, and I had to call me back right away.
Yes, sir.
And then Chairman was telling me that you were in town, having met with the PM and whatever.
No, I was in Grand Bay.
Well, wherever you were, and they were saying that you know, the evacuation order was being prepared. And
yes, so that's what happened. So that's what happened Saturday, and of course, by Saturday evening, we realized that, you know, that very little had happened. But didn't damp our spirit. Of course, people, common sense prevail, and people realize that sooner or later we're going to have to leave Petite Savanne. As I said, you didn't have to take anybody from the outside to. The question was how. Those who could, the family boats had already. So that's how we have a small section of people right now in Grand Bay. These were the first people to leave, so they made it to the closest port, safety port that they could in Grand Bay. So as I said, by then they didn't damp our spirits. Animals were being slaughtered. And
I understood you guys had a little mini pork.
Yes, sir. Actually, Saturday night we roasted like 35 pounds of pork, and we decided.
You all were in survival mode.
Exactly, and it's like, as I said, we decided that we are here, and then whatever happens, you know, that let us.
But let's just jump back a little bit. So the PM arrived when?
The PM did show up on Friday morning. Friday morning, he did come by helicopter.
So tell us about you meeting the PM.
Oh yes. Actually, he visited, and I really want to commend him for. I mean, I've done it privately, publicly. Commend him for the leadership he has shown. First of all, as a leader of the country, and also to the special attention he has given the folks on the Petite Savanne constituency. Given, as I said, they were the ones who were most severely affected as it pertains to loss of life. I mean, from Friday he was there and tried his best to, you know, it reached a point where we told him, PM, okay, you know, that's cool, you know, people know you came here, you know, and that's cool, you know, we don't think that you should continue. So he made it as far up as the health center. And that's quite a traversing all this
Sure,
river and the landslide from the bayside, you know. And then we met him there. He met him there. I was told that he was in the community, and then somebody shouted me because by then there was no communication between. So people would shout from one another. Doc, okay, the PM is here. So we ran down. That is from living right up in the village. Ran down to meet him. You know,
explain Petite Savanne to me, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry, but that he was there, you know. And then we met briefly, you know. And he said, Doc, you know. But as I said, by then, yes, maybe the possibility of evacuation all was on, you know. But as I said, something that had to be thought of because in an entire community to be evacuated is not. It's not.
It's a big decision.
Yes, it's a big decision. You know,
a lot of things have to be factored
exactly.
in.
We're not talking about even Dubic is a bit easier because Dubic is a small community. You know, 100 or so, a couple hundred people. You know, but Petite Savanne maybe almost 1,000 or so people. You know, it's a much harder. So when I got out this Sunday morning, of course, as I said, Saturday we spent the whole of Saturday, of course, hardly sleeping. We couldn't sleep. And then Sunday morning, I made a decision that by any which way I needed to get out there to at least, you know, get some perspective because the anxiety levels were increasing in Petite Savanne. And by then, one of my friends, even Urban Moto, had walked down. He promised he was going to come to me. Thankfully, the area where the sea is, that's also close to the helicopter site. So I stayed on the helicopter line inside. I said, whichever comes first, boat or helicopter, will get out. Had a small church service with the people from the area, Galba area. One of the pastors of the church prayed for me, you know, wished me and prayed for God's guidance and everything. I told them, listen, I wasn't leaving them, I was just leaving to go get help and I would be back. So I never thought I could still swim, but then we had to fall in the water this Sunday, get to the boat out there because by then the sea was really rough. Then.
I can tell. I arrived there Sunday morning.
The boat couldn't come up to shore like Monday. God looked over us Monday and granted us good weather on Monday, but by Sunday,
I saw it first.
The boat couldn't come all the way to the shore, so I had to swim out myself with the nurse who was with me and another young lady. So by the time we got to Stowe, and then we walked to Granby. By then I could access a cell phone. I called the Prime Minister immediately. It's Doc, 2 words. Doc, what's the status? PM boy, people have to move here. That's it. Say no more. And then the official evacuation was ordered. But in spite of all of this, so we're talking about 3-4 days out of home and everything that's in my family. Then Nurse Charles, Nurse Charles did call me as soon as I got home to another meeting. Nurse Charles called me and said we're meeting at the situation room. Because remember I said we had activated our, I did show up and I was geared and ready to go back because remember as I told the folks that I was just leaving just to could get the perspective and stuff to return. As you can well imagine, my madam home was very, Kenneth, where you going again? I mean, you've done what you have to do. But I think her prayers were answered and the helicopter was just supposed to come pick me up to drop me back this Sunday evening. Couldn't make it again, so I slept at my home for the first time. I had a little couple hours rest on Sunday evening, and first flight Monday morning I was back out to assist with the evacuation. And I think that was maybe one of the other most things that will be etched on my memory. When I got back to Petite Savanne and saw the hundreds of people by the bayside, you know.
Waiting.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, even walking into Petite Savanne from the bayside, you saw people walking down whatever they had salvage, elderly people on the shoulders of the younger ones. And that amazed me too. I saw young men climbing across where some of the precipitous areas, taking the elderly ones, bringing them, sitting them down on chairs and so on, waiting and so on. So you've done that, and people will know in this stage where they were moving. One question I want to ask you before we get to the point of people moving is, was there reluctance or there was an acceptance of the fact that people had to move?
Well, I think leaving one's home, is never easy, especially and Petite Savanne people, I mean, like the average Dominican are very intelligent people, and I mean, people by then would have realized, that this place is just unsafe. And leaving means most likely that they're not going to come back, you know. Of course, the initial hesitation, even if to themselves they know that they're not safe wherever they are, of course, would be, boy, I'm not going, you know. But in fact, 95% of people meet me and say, Doc, what are you doing? We need to get out of here.
It grew on them.
Yes, it grew. In fact, from the time I came in day one, people were already telling me that 9 out of every 10 people would be telling me, Doc, we need to get out of Petite Savanne. And I said, there would always be a few in the pocket, few who I mean, who felt that they're going to be living what they worked their whole life for, they just build their comfort, invested in their comfortable homes, etc. But I think the general population, hey, as I said, people had already taken the decision even before the official evacuation was announced, the Sunday to move the Saturday. You with me? So people knew that it was going to.
So you had moved people from Dubic to Granby.
To Granby, the very same first day. Yeah.
And the people from Petite Savanne were actually coming into town. Now
Yes,
I saw firsthand because I was on one of the boats who brought down like 30-something people, and their relatives and families were on the port waiting for them. So some people had been immediately absorbed by their family, relatives who were living in Roseau. But then you also had to organize, move expeditiously to put these people somewhere.
Yes. Well, the grammar school. Well, yeah, that decision was taken, of course, at the central level. I mean, the PM called me because remember I said that I slept home Sunday evening. So by then he called me and let me know that grammar school they had already prepared the grammar school for the evacuees from Petite Savanne. Yes. So that the decision was taken at central level.
What about the folks from Dubic? Granby was prepared for them. I mean,
the thing is, we had the people from Dubic. The community center was there. So as soon as people moved, because people started moving as soon as the Friday, it's a Friday, people started moving. So as soon as people started moving, Granby people basically just took over, even because they came in without any notice.
Right.
People just thought they had to move, and the safest place and the fastest place was the community center, which is a shelter. So people moved there, and Granby people just enveloped them and just decided to bring material, bring
good stuff,
clothing, bring sheets, bring things to make them comfortable. But soon after, then we started getting the cots from disaster preparedness and all of those kinds of things to
so those things started kicking in.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that there was the Granby people welcome them.
Oh yes, Mervin, they've never, I mean, I need to thank the Charlton on behalf of our constituent. I mean, the people were overwhelmed with clothes, food stuff, because even the Petite Savanne people who by then would have moved to the Granby primary school, eventually they were moved to the youth center, but they were originally Granby primary school. I mean, they were overwhelmed with stuff, you know, clothing and cooking utensils and food and everything else. So, as I said, I think if it's one good thing that came out of this tragedy that made me realize that humanity is not lost. Yeah, that there's still good in everybody, and that really manifested itself for this tragedy.
Let's talk about going forward. Yes, going forward, you have a number of people relocated, some dislocated. Going forward, I mean, it's a big plan. It is not something that you can deal with here and now, but you have to start. You have started, both of you, because you are integrally involved, because you have a number of these people still in your community. Some of them may well have to find relocation in the Granby vicinity.
Yes, sir.
But for you, Doc, that is an awesome responsibility. You have to ensure that you make your people comfortable and give them peace of mind again.
Yes, sir.
Where are we in the process, and how has that been? Okay. Without giving too many intricate details.
Sure. One of the things I immediately did, because we also keep forgetting that places like Pichelin, Bagatelle, and Fosséja were also impacted, albeit not as heavily as Petite Savanne, but they were also affected. So as soon as Petite Savanne was safely evacuated, well, those who wanted to, that is, I then proceeded to visit Bagatelle, Fosséja. I had to do it by boat because the road wasn't motorable at the time. Took the boat from Granby, fishing boat, to the areas. And so what I did immediately when I went there, I realized that there were areas impacted, a few homes lost, but nothing as serious as Petite Savanne. So what I did is I set up what they call a committee. Yes, there have been disaster committees set up in all committees, but like most of these things, they're just stuff on paper, and then they're really not active. So what I did, I got representatives from each of the hamlets in the Bagatelle area, called them together, got the village council members involved. We sat together, and in fact, the first day that we met, Prime Minister was also visiting that area with me, and then we had just disbanded. We called everybody back together. We met again, and this has been working wonderful for me, as I said, going forward, because I have presented cabinet and all other government offices next year with this committee executive. So all relief supplies are directed to them. They have a very organized system in place. When relief come in, they call the representatives from the hamlets, they come in the vehicle, they have the list of family members, how many family they go out, and this has been working wonderful. And it has allowed me also to get a breather in between. That all of these
which
little,
you need, eh?
Yes, so all of these little intricate, I don't
your task of leading a process has just started.
Sir. Petite Savanne, besides that happened in Bagatelle. This is working really wonderful for me in Bagatelle. They only call me if they get some little blockage somewhere in the system. Petite Savanne, very soon after all of this was done, I met with them. And the second meeting I made, I suggested that they put a committee in place, committee chosen by the people. They didn't have any influence in the process. The people nominated the community leaders, people they felt that would have a voice, put this committee in place. And also they've basically really taken over and in terms of the supply relief, I've advised the various government agencies with the ratification of cabinet to direct all relief supplies to them. We have a distribution center in town. We have all checks and record in place. People sign for stuff. So all of this is working wonderful. In addition, the biggest task ahead, as I said, is the relocation. In fact, they've called themselves the Petite Savanne Resettlement Committee. As you would know, we've already identified a few potential, I said potential or options. What was supposed to have met with the general community on Monday, but because of the inclement weather, it had to be postponed to this afternoon. Or you're free to join. I said you wanted to join on Monday, so if you're available. So we're going to meet this afternoon. And what we've done is we prepared what they call like some survey forms. So we are going to distribute it to all people 12 and over, put in the name optional, and we've put the various potential options available so far, and also space available for any further comments, suggestions. I'm going forward. So then we will sit down, collect all the information.
So you're basically planning with them,
yeah,
allowing them to make the decision.
And then they've already been assured by the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The committee has already met with the Prime Minister and some members of Cabinet, I think sometime last week, and they've already been assured by the Minister of Finance, the leader, and Cabinet that no decision is going to be taken without the input for them. We're not going to, nobody's going to sit in the office and say we're going to move you guys, okay? Obviously, and knowing people, as I said, obviously people will have different opinions as to why they would want to go to location X or location Y. I've already let them know that it's not going to be a case where we can meet everybody's particular needs. I think it's a thing where we have to go on consensus and find a location that will basically meet most, most people's
collective decision.
A collective decision, exactly. As I said, they will have maybe pockets, interest groups who would want to go to that particular location because of that particular reason. But I think so far, so good, Mervin. And if I may be honest, I think that the fact that I showed up, because I could very well, as I said, as a member of parliament, stay at my home and be safe, and when all this is done, come visit, take some notes. But I think the fact that they
But that's not you, that's not your nature.
Exactly, that's not me. And the fact that I think that I was there with them through it all has gone a long way into helping manage this post-tragedy period.
I want to ask 3 final questions.
Sure, yeah.
So, for the people who are in the shelters, you would have visited them too as well on those shelters?
On a regular basis.
And what the sentiments? That's what I want to know. How are they? You know, some people feel, boy, I don't belong there, because these are people who are coming from their comfortable homes. Or are they understanding, you know what, we're in a situation that we did not put ourselves, so it's temporary, let's make the best of it. What are the sentiments emanating from those centers? Where I will
let Ness speak, because Ness has basically taken over
and don't spin too much on my nice chair because
sorry,
of the camera.
Okay, sorry. The centers in Grand Bay, I mean, I've met with them regularly, and in fact, I've put also a committee for Dubic. I forgot to mention that. A Dubic committee, they formed their own committee. And then we have representatives of the pockets of people in Petite Savanne in Grand Bay. So when we have meetings in town, you know, I allow them to come to town, or the representative for the committee will go back to hold little meetings with them and let them know. You know, so in other words, everybody, all the info is being shared. Nurse at the beginning, I've been caught up, as I said, doing the other areas. Nurse visited them regularly. I've had frequent meetings with them. The Prime Minister and myself have met with the Dubic people in Grand Bay. So they're comfortable. They're comfortable. For one, I know that they're very, especially those in Grand Bay, they're very comfortable. We've given them water tanks.
You say comfortable meaning relative to the situation?
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've tried. I mean, and they appreciate that we've done as much as possible under the circumstances to make them as comfortable as possible. Make sure that they have adequate mattresses. With entertainment, television, got mapping connections. We provided them with refrigerators, freezers, stuff too, as I said, so they can.
But I hear both of you saying though.
Yes.
I mean, when I say I hear you say it, I mean I hear the hidden statements coming from you that this is an opportunity to probably take the people of Dubic and so on to a standard of living that probably you always dreamt of.
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of good that can come
yes,
out of it.
Honestly, as I said, when people keep on telling me there's this silver cloud, you know, the silver lining behind every cloud, that cloud, and after people at the beginning that this cloud has to be really dark and really big, or the silver lining really small, you know, that I cannot see it. But you're right. I think it's an opportunity for rebirth, rejuvenation, and I think coming out of this, our people, everybody affected will be more united. We can come out and bigger, better, and stronger, and a more united people. But the people in the shelter moving, honestly, I think they're well taken care of. Even at the DGS, of course. I also want to take this opportunity to really appeal to the few insensitive people, okay, who keep passing something.
And I think it's important that you say that.
Yes, I mentioned it on the Creole program with Experience Creole, that I think it's very insensitive for people to be passerbys, you know, to be telling them, you know, please get out of their school, they're trying to get to school. I mean, today it's Petite Savanne, tomorrow it could be theirs.
But it was only a year ago when it was the Newtown Lobia people.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the people of Petite Savanne are not there. They did not commit any crime. You understand me? They did not commit any crime. They're not there for punishment. All of these people would have left their comfortable homes in Petite Savanne, and they were not there by choice, okay, but by an unfortunate
under siege, duress. It was not
act of nature. So I really want to appeal to the few insensitive people out there, you know, that there's a God above, and please have a heart, which is why we're making every effort, as you said, going forward right now because we recognize, you know, that the grammar school has to be reopened at some point.
Sure.
So what we've done as a government so far is we've identified a few places around town that will house all of the people who are at the school, at the grammar school, to get them out where they also will have maybe by families, house them, they'll have certain degree of privacy, independence. In addition, the people who are living with relatives, so what maybe the first few days the relatives wouldn't have mind to house them. Right now, of course, things are becoming a bit cramped up, so we also identifying also private homes around town where they might be heading up and to see how the government can assist at any in any case. A lot of people have offered the homes free of charge. Some of them maybe just have a few renovations. I'm sure that I've already gotten the commitment. The government can underwrite some of these little renovations, setting up, preparing them for. So the hope is that, the plan is that slowly but surely that we phase out the people from the shelters. So this 4 to 6 month period, maybe until rebuilding or relocation can happen, that they be as comfortable as possible.
Those Charles, as many suffer sports. I know, because sports in itself is a very healthy avenue for the releasing of the pressure that they would have been under. And I know that your division or some aspect of your ministry was involved in bringing some of that to the people, especially those at the grammar school. How has that worked?
Not just the grammar school, I think all the shelters.
Okay.
I know of Granby also. The youth division, the sports division and the cultural division, they both set up a schedule of activities with the people when they go out there and what activities they undertake. And I know they've had basketball at the grammar school, and even in Granby, as soon as we put them in the youth center, the Petite Savanne people ask me for basketball. I give them the ball, and I can tell you from day one, they've been on the basketball court on a daily. Yes. Last night I can say to you, I stayed home and did the cultural activity, because culture normally go there and do drums and do arts and do drawing, you know, all different kinds of arts with them. And I can tell you they had a very good cultural activity at the community center last night. At the community center, sports division would go there also. Cultural division would go there to do regular activities. When Mrs. Skerritt visited, she gave them hula hoop, and man, the children were involved with their hula hoop.
So they may be developing a new skill then.
Yeah, man. They have their cards, they have their dominoes, they have all of those things that we can keep them engaged.
But you see, the things you guys are saying, from my knowledge of Petite Savanne, I've known Petite Savanne for quite some time, and I've probably become even closer to Petite Savanne since I met my brother from another mother. What they're exhibiting now is nothing strange. That's the spirit of Petite Savanne people. You know, they never say die attitude. You know, you get this sense that they will fight against the odds. And I think that in itself helps with the whole relocation and recovery process, because it lifts you and them. It makes you feel that your task is a little easier, because they're willing to go with you. It's not like they're just sitting there and you have to carry them like wheelbarrows. They're willing to go with you, and that's good.
Yes, sir. Because as you speak, we have less than 100 people at the grammar school, you know, out of the hundreds that were evacuated, because Most of the others would be.
I said 3 questions, but I have 2 more.
Yes, sir.
1, what do you have to say about the relatives of these people who are living in and around Roseau, the part that they play?
Oh well, yes. I mean, it's tremendous, overwhelming, and I think this is it. Probably the caring so much is even maybe what caused some little logistic issues for us as it pertains to they not receiving supplies, because the instructions were that when the boat arrived at the jetty, that they come to the grammar school, get registered, leave a contact forwarding address, and then relatives who can. But the anxiety, people met the people on the ports and they taking them off. So what happened?
People follow protocol.
No, but I mean, and understandably so. So what happened now? A lot of times, a lot of the people now who have been living relatives now they know any system knows where they are. Right. But as I said, the community have rectified all of this, and I really want to take this opportunity to really thank the members of the committee, Petite Savanne Resettlement Committee, for really volunteering to help, and I mean they've done a tremendous job. And to thank them for at least having my back and easing up a lot of the burden of the PAL rep. Yes, sir.
My final and overarching question. Both of you are senior government ministers, and both of you would have known the Prime Minister quite well. And I don't think you would have been overly surprised at his approach to dealing with this thing expeditiously. Yeah. But as a government, how satisfied are you that you guys are working with the resources that you have to best alleviate the problem and settle these people back? How satisfied are you? I mean, I don't expect you to be critical of your approach, but there may still be areas of concern. But how satisfied are you in terms of the Prime Minister and the government's approach towards dealing with this problem?
I think if I am to start, Mervin, I think I really need to give enough kudos to the Prime Minister for his leadership qualities and his skills and the way his proactiveness in dealing with situation and the effectiveness and efficiency that you see in the way he tries to put things. And it's like he has that foresight, he sees things and he will give that level of direction. And as a result of that, I think, and as a team, as you said, the government works, I usually say, as a family. And we can see that cohesiveness, we can see that level of support from all other ministries. And everybody, I mean, all hands are on deck. Whether your constituency was affected or not, we all come together to ensure that things can work out through. And I know, for example, Honorable Ian Pinard, who is new in the ministry, I mean, he has done, his ministry has done quite well. I mean, there are so many people that we need to thank, the ministers, yes, but there are other agencies. For example, if I'm to look at Granby, I mean, Dawasco, the general manager of Dawasco, I mean, and their staff, I mean, they've done overwhelmingly well.
The utility companies
yes, they have done well. Lime and just name it. Domlec has given free connection, I mean, has waived the payment of electricity at the shelters for a period of time, and those kinds of things. I think we need to really thank all of those persons. Health, the Department of Health. I mean, in Granby, for example, the health team has worked up to now. They continue to visit the shelters on a daily basis, make sure everything is fine. The youth division, they've worked in Granby tremendously. As soon as I said we were moving the people from Petite Savanne from the school to the youth center, Mr. Paquette and Mr. Roach, they've been there on a regular basis to ensure that everything is in order and to the T, security and everything. I mean, it's just overwhelming to see how people can bring their efforts together to make sure that we can assist people in time of need. I must end by commending the people of Granby. I mean, I just cannot leave them out for the way they received the people from Petite Savanne and Granby, the kind of support that they gave in the beginning and continues to give. As we speak, every day we'll visit, we'll provide security, we'll provide food, we'll go provide moral support. As Dr. Darroux said, you may find one-on-one making little comments. That is fair because we are human. But generally, man, I know when you go there and to hear the people from Petite Savanne and Dubic speak about the level of support they've gotten from Granby, I want to commend the whole Granby constituency, the groups in the constituency, the individuals, the families who've really gone out to meet the needs of those people. But importantly, Mervin, I also want to single out some of our police officers. We have in Granby police officers who work outside of Granby, but at that time they were cut off, and Mervin, you would swear they were the one man in the Granby police station. Yes. Mervin, they worked relentlessly, the police officers, the fire officers on a daily basis continue to provide water in the area, because our biggest challenge in Grand Bay, although we were not physical, not much physical damage, but our biggest challenge is water.
For the most part of them.
Water. Yeah. So the fire officers have been there on a daily basis providing water as far as they possibly can. Dawasco has been there providing. It's like, it's just overwhelming to see how people can come together in times of crisis and assist to alleviate the plight of those who are suffering. It's commendable. We really want to thank people, and we just pray that that kind of spirit can pervade, can continue, and we can live in that spirit of unity. Because I think, as I said to people, I think God is speaking to us in many ways, and that is another way in which He is speaking to us to unite even more. I mean, we are united people, but we need to even tighten that level of unity and continue to give support to one another.
Doc, your comment.
When yes, Mervin, I said it before, even prior to this forum, that I really want to commend the Prime Minister. I mean, as we said earlier in the program, the Prime Minister made it to Petite Savanne the very same Friday. You know, and I was even like, Mr. PM, I mean, where you go, you know what I mean? I mean, you know, and he didn't have to, you know, he could have just passed on the helicopter to look. He actually landed and attempted to traverse, you know, this huge gorge, this huge abyss in Petite Savanne. And sometimes I ask him, like, how is it that he's able to remember, even having to deal with the whole country and all of the little details, sometimes, you know, particular individual, you know, and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's amazing, Mervin, how the Prime Minister is able to remember all of these things and coordinate all of these things. I mean, he's the Prime Minister of the country, and as I said, right now he has so much to deal with, you know, in terms of how, first of all, funding, resources to get, you know, the infrastructure back in place. But he will still remember maybe this little old lady from Petite Savanne and ask me, Doc, where is she? And take time off maybe to go and visit her, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's really amazing. I thanked him personally, I thanked him publicly, and I really want to state for the record, and the Petite Savanne people have also recognized the love and personal affection that he's shown them during this crisis. He has assured me as a member of Parliament, he has assured the people that we are going to build a bigger and better Petite Savanne. And I've also assured them that no detail will be left out as it pertains to planning, and then that they, as I've told them, will get the best option available. Like Ms. Charles, but the top, I don't really want to go for it again, but it would be remiss of me not to mention the villagers. I mentioned the young men of the community, my good friend and brother Clinton. I have assigned the mayor of a town of 12. I think 12 residents up there now, Clinton. I mean, this pickup truck saved our lives. I mean, that was used to transport officers, sick people from their homes to the helicopter side. It just did everything. Water, carrying water the first few days, people in Petite Savanne from the bayside.
Apparently the tank was filled with fuel.
I don't know, maybe like the feeding of the 5,000 in the Bible. But and this mentioned the police officers, especially those from the area, Petite Savanne, those at the Gunby police station, Sergeant JJ, is his name is from Bellevue. I mean, this Henderson from I mean, it was just amazing, Mervin, you know, like in times of crisis, or what I said, you see the humanity come out of people, and for a minute I was a bit for a minute or two I was a bit worried about Dominica, you know, and going forward, okay, but I think this thing, while you will still have the few leopards who cannot change the spot, you know, negativity, I think by and large people, this has brought out the best in each and every one of us, and as Nishal said, I'm hoping and praying that we can continue that spirit, and that the negative in the minority, and the leadership that the government, the Prime Minister and all the ministers of government are given to this Post-Erika tragedy, I mean, is to be commended.
But Mervin, can I just end by saying one thing though? We have to recognize the many senior citizens and the many people in Dominica who may not be physically on the ground doing but who are out there praying for the Prime Minister and the government of Dominica, because we recognize the power of prayer, and we really need to recognize them for that and thank them and ask them to continue in that spirit of prayer,
and
because we need that.
Also the very many people outside of Dominica who played their part
and
still play.
It's overwhelming.
Yes,
it's overwhelming.
Yes, and let's mention senior citizen, and we mentioned about Prime Minister earlier, and I forgot to mention that the Roman Catholic Church, Generosity of the Bishop has given us the Mount Carmel home. It was empty at the time, vacant at the time, at Mount Daniel, which is currently housing between 20 and 30 of our citizens who just wouldn't have made it in general shelter. So what we've done, the Prime Minister have also visited them there, and I've also taken note himself as to how the place can be improved too, because as we realize they're going to be there for a few months, and I've already put mechanisms in place to hire staff, and all of this to make things better. I'm really, as I said, I can sleep a bit better at nights now, knowing that while we still have people, the anxiety levels are still high, especially people who would have maybe just build home mortgages. But I think people can come to the realization that there's nothing that we can do about it, but just look forward and plan forward and be part of the process moving forward. The quicker we can build back our communities and our country. And I want to make a special appeal to all of them. Yes.
A final call though is like, we as Dominicans, we recognize the impact of the storm on Dominica and the amount of infrastructural damage that we have. Some people may have suffered minor damage. For example, water may have entered. If you have, let's say, your basement, which is maybe below ground level, or maybe poor drainage, and some people may have suffered little damage where water entered. I think we as citizens of the country, we have to play our part in trying to alleviate the plight of the government and see how we can do little things that can assist us. Yes, government will come out and help, but we have to look at the bigger picture, because these same people who may be asking us to help them because their SETI got wet and their electricals got damaged, but these are the same people that will be asking for the roads, because we need to do the road, we need to do the bridges, we need to do all of those things. So we would really like some people to claim some level of some ownership and responsibility and try to help themselves. Yes, government will reach you halfway, will meet you halfway, but we as citizens, we need to do little things that we can do to help ourselves.
Let me thank both of you for spending such, what I consider to be such precious time. You could have been both doing many other things, and I know your phones must have been inundated with calls and messages. But I thought it was very important to do this exclusive interview, so those of us out there can understand what you had to go through to bring some level of peace and tranquility, relatively so, to the people of the South, Petite Savanne, Dubic, and Bagatelle and Fonseca. I want to commit myself to assisting in whatever way I can, and we here at GIS also, we try to play our part to take the images to bring it to the people and so on. But I also want to commend both of you for the tremendous amount of leadership that you've given in this process, because in times like this, things can become very chaotic. And from all reports, the leadership that you guys have given from the time you got there up to the very moment is commendable. So once again, thank you so much for talking to us, and we look forward to being with you, talking to you again in the very near future as the development as it relates to the relocation of the people are concerned.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
You've been viewing a very special discussion with Dr. Darroux, the parliamentary representative for the Petite Savanne constituency, and Justina Charles, the parliamentary representative for the Grand Bay constituency. We look forward to, once again, bringing another subject of national importance to you when we come back. Thank you for viewing.